Hey everyone, we are recapping this past Sunday's message. We talked about God being the Redeemer, and we are in Exodus chapter 6. Now, what's neat about Exodus chapter 6 is Moses has obeyed God at this point. He's gone from the burning bush, made his way back to Egypt. He's presented himself before Pharaoh. And I tell you what, things do not go well. Pharaoh denies Moses' claim. The workload is increased. It feels like disarray. It feels like things are not going according to plan. It feels like God's not in control. Yet that is exactly where God finds Moses in chapter 6. I'm going to ask you to familiarize yourself with the passage if you're not already, but he comes to Moses and he doesn't just automatically fix the problem. The first thing he does is he reveals himself, and he does so in a neat way. He shares his covenant name with Moses here. He shares the name Yahweh, the Yahweh, and I tell you, it's kind of neat because he says, Abraham didn't know me this way. Isaac didn't know me in this way. They knew me as El Shaddai, the Lord Almighty, but I'm calling you to know me as your Redeemer, and I'm going to share my covenant name with you. He reaffirms who he is to Moses. And where that leaves us is, oftentimes when we are doing God's work and we're following what the Lord has for us, things don't automatically become easier. Things are not always easy. Things can feel disarrayed. Things can feel chaotic. And in those times, God usually reveals himself to us, not the answer to our problem. He reveals himself to Moses when things are falling apart. God's first move is not to change the situation. It's to remind us who he is. And I love that about the Lord. The second thing we realize is that God is the one who declares what he's going to do. He famously gives Moses these 4 I am statements, or I will statements. And God doesn't come to Moses and just say, hey, you need to try harder. You need to keep going. You need to prove yourself. He comes and he says, I will do this. And the first thing he says is, I will bring you out. He's calling his people out of bondage. I will bring you out. This is deliverance language. I will remove you from what has enslaved you. And we see in the Exodus story, it's fascinating because Israel never organized a rebellion against Egypt. They never tried to negotiate a treaty. They didn't try to earn their release by working harder. It was purely the Lord bringing them out. And I still think that we need to remember God does these I will statements today. He brings us out of the slavery of sin through the cross of Christ. And we need to realize we've been purchased, we've been redeemed, we've been brought out of that. And some of us, we need to let go of the Egypt. We need to let go of the sinful things. We can't manage sin. We can't hide sin. We can't cope with it. God is bringing freedom to his people. He says, I will deliver you. And this is deeper than location. This is deeper than just saying, I'm going to bring you out of Egypt. What he's saying is, I'm going to get the Egypt out of you. And I think some of us Christians, we need to hear that today. God, yes, has brought us out from the bondage of slavery, but he wants to get that carnal man out of us. It's a progressive sanctification that we're walking with. You can be saved and still think like a slave. You can be a son. You can be purchased as a son or daughter and still think like an orphan. He's renewing our mind. And a lot of deliverance is not so much external and location as it is internal. He's changing our identity. He's changing who we are. The next thing he says is, I will redeem you with an outstretched arm. Redeem is that awesome biblical word, buying back, reclaiming, restoring. And Pharaoh names them as slaves. God is naming them as his own. And we need to remember that even in our worst moment, God has named us. He's called us his own. The world remembers us by our worst moment. The world remembers us by our weakness. I'm an addict. I'm impoverished. I'm divorced. I'm fill in the blank. You know, the world remembers us at our worst moment, but God is saying, I've redeemed you. You are my people. This is strength, this idea of this outstretched arm. This is the direct intervention of God, the power of God working. And he doesn't do so reluctantly. God redeems decisively, and he says, I will take you to be my people, and I will be your God. This is the belonging language. This is not God saying, well, I got you, I saved you, now good luck, but God is desiring an active relationship. Redemption is not just rescue. You know, it is us walking with the Lord and having a relationship and fellowship with him. And that changes everything. You know, our identity is found in him. We continue to walk with God. And I know we spent a bulk of time on Sunday talking about the I will statements. We did. They are very important because that's what God is still doing. He is still redeeming. He is still fighting. He is still delivering, and he is still wanting to walk with us. But the last point we really settled on, and I want to encourage you with today, is that God finishes what he starts, and he reaffirms the covenant with Moses at this point. He reaffirms, he goes, look, I was the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, and I promised these things, and I have not forgotten. And Abraham heard the promise, you know, Isaac carried it, Jacob wrestled with it. In Egypt, I think the promise was almost forgotten. They were enslaved. It was a hard time, but God didn't forget, and the circumstances did not cancel the covenant. God doesn't turn his back on his promises. And you may feel behind, you may feel disqualified, you may feel like you've wasted years, you may feel like God has forgotten you. Friends, God finishes what he starts. He who began a good work in you will see it through to its completion. He doesn't redeem us halfway. He doesn't promise casually, and he's not one to ever abandon his covenants. And so I think the Exodus story is wonderful because it's this beautiful picture of redemption. It's this beautiful picture of God intervening in the lives of his people. And we see this picture ties in so beautifully with the ultimate Exodus story, the cross of Christ, that God came and intervened on our behalf, redeemed us, bought our freedom, and we are delivered. We no longer have to look like the world, talk like the world, act like the world, fear like the world, freak out like the world, because we've been purchased with a price. And so I want to encourage you today, God is the redeeming God. And a lot of deliverance is just us resting in what he's already done, not trying to go out and earn, trying to go out and earn his pleasure or do things in order to gain his acceptance. God has already accepted us. He's already redeemed us. He's already delivered us. It's just time to start walking that out. And the hardest part is often internal because it's hard to get Egypt out of the Israelites. It's hard for us to stop thinking like slaves. It's hard for us to stop thinking like orphans. And in fact, we see the nation of Israel, they're going to take 40 years wandering the wilderness because they can't get Egypt out. They can't embrace this. And that's my encouragement for you today. Embrace the work of God in your life and rest in his goodness. Go and read your Bible. Go read the Exodus story, and we'll catch you next time. God bless you.